Embarrassment. What do you think about when you hear the word embarrassment? Do you think about the time when you blanked on a recitation, tripped in front of everybody, or maybe even the multitude of times when you awkwardly waved back to somebody who wasn't actually waving to you? Maybe you think about embarrassing moments other people had that made you feel embarrassed for them. You might just think of everything your parents do in public. Good morning, TMI. My name is Harrison, and when I think of the word embarrassment, I don't think of a specific incident. I think of one of my lifelong fears. Why do we get embarrassed? Some psychologists would say it's because when we do something awkward, we aren't living up to social standards, and we feel inadequate in our own eyes and in the eyes of others. This explanation is fine. However, a definition that works better for me would simply be the word insecurity. We've all got insecurities in some way or another. They could be athletic ability, erudition, physical appearance, or popularity, just to name a few. Growing up, my personal insecurity has been the need to be accepted by others, and in my mind, embarrassment was a barrier between me and their acceptance. I realized at a young age that by being reserved and not putting myself out there, that I could avoid the awkwardness and embarrassment that might have happened if I did. But stepping completely out of the picture wasn't right for me, as my desire to be accepted by people and be social made me want to connect with others. I just had to find the right way. My solution was humor. Humor offered me a way to be recognized by others and still saved me from embarrassment at the same time. For the most part, I could say a few witty words, get a laugh, and proceed on without having to worry about being ridiculed. Humor became a part of me and became one of my main means of communicating with others, just as it is today. However, my embarrassment was still there, even when I thought I had found the remedy. Just by simply being myself, I would get embarrassed. Tripping on staircases, running face first into oak trees while playing tag, and often calling my elementary school teacher's mom were all youthful talents of mine. Yet, these talents embarrassed me to the nth degree every time they occurred. Humor was just a way to distance myself from my embarrassment at first, and it wouldn't be until years later that I found the answer to my fear. This chapel that we're in has been an embarrassment hotspot since we began to use it. Whether it is an awkwardly butchered announcement, a terrible chapel talk, a fall, obnoxious ringtone going off, or even the awkward tension when Father Nate asks us for a show of hands, there is always something embarrassing going on in this chapel. My pinnacle of embarrassment happened in this room 2 years ago, and it didn't even involve me. NHS induction day of my sophomore year, Dr. Stark was called up to the podium to give a speech, and on his way up the steps, he ate it really badly. He then went on to give a great ad hoc and cleverly devised speech on empathy, while waving around his shoe to drive home the analogy. Even though I found out that it was 100% on purpose, I was mortified at the moment it happened, to say the least. And the burn of embarrassment under my face lasted the entire day. I replayed the scenario over and over, and after a lot of thought, I realized 2 things. First and foremost, I promised myself that I would do anything and everything in my power not to fall on my way up here for my chapel talk. Second, which was my epiphany, was that it's okay. I realized that embarrassing myself is not the end of the world, and that I shouldn't let my fear of embarrassment dictate what and how I do things. Since that time, I haven't allowed my fear of embarrassment to dictate what I do, and I found it much easier and more enjoyable just to be myself around others. Now, I haven't gotten to the point where embarrassment doesn't faze me at all, as I will still cringe when I or somebody else does something worth ridiculing. But I can say that embarrassment is no longer a fear of mine. It's more like a normal discomfort. We all have been embarrassed too many times to count, and we all hate the feeling. But just taking a step back and finding humor in your embarrassment will ease the burn inside. So what's my point, you might be asking? Is it about embarrassment? For me, personally, yes. But on a broader plane, my point is about fear. My life had been controlled for a long time by a specific fear of mine, and it wasn't until I confronted and accepted my fear that I was able to permanently deal with it. My advice to you, TMI, is that whatever your fear may be, don't let it take control of you. Take control of it. Don't let your fear stop you from experiencing life. Now, I'm not advocating going to swim with sharks if your fear is sharks or anything to that extreme, but put yourself in a position that could help you conquer your fears. After all, as Franklin D. Roosevelt would agree, the only thing to fear is fear itself. Thank you.